This is the Darren Paltrocast with Darren Paltrowitz.
Paltrocast.
I've been interviewing musicians, comedians, and all sorts of entertainers for almost 20 years. Joan Rivers, Flavor Flav, Paris Hilton, members of Guns N' Roses and the Eagles, and countless others. This show is about artists and why they do what they do.
Paltrocast.
Thanks for downloading the 30th edition of the Paltrocast with Darren Paltrowitz. I'm recording this episode on the eve of my visit to Louisville, Kentucky for the Louder Than Life Music Festival. Really excited about that one, seeing the likes of Guns N' Roses and Ice Cube. Some really amazing acts there. But for this edition of the Paltrocast, I spoke with three different musicians who have been recording for decades. That includes Wednesday 13, Monkees singer Micky Dolenz, and Korn and KXM drummer Ray Luzier. First up is my interview with Wednesday 13, and the latest album for Wednesday 13 is his 8th full-length album. It's called Necrophaze, and it comes out on September 27th. The album features a lot of high-profile guest performers, including Alice Cooper, Lacuna Coil frontwoman Christina Scadia, Stone Sour drummer Roy Mayorga, and Children of Bodom's Alexei Laiho. Hope I'm saying that right. Is it Laiho, whatever it is. I spoke with Wednesday by phone in early August, and I immediately asked him if he knew when he was writing Necrophaze, if he knew he was going to have all those great artists on there.
It was after everything was written. It was nothing that we had in mind or had like these spots to like fill in or anything. And it wasn't just having guests for the sake of having guests. That was something I was hoping the record wouldn't get perceived as that from the beginning of, we got all these guests on it because they can't come up with any ideas. It was the exact opposite. We just had all these ideas and wanted other people to share it with and what they could bring to the song. And that's where Alice came in and Christina and Alexei. And these were all people that, with the exception of Christina, everybody that's on the record I knew and that are friends I've known for a while. Christina was just someone that I don't know personally. I've did shows with her back in Murder Doll's first record, and we have friends of friends, and so it almost feels like we kind of know each other better than we do. But she was just one of the people I didn't know that we reached out to, and she came back with all positive about wanting to be a part of it, and we sent her parts, and she came back with even more parts than originally had for her, and she schooled it. So it was just cool. We had all these people come together, and it just kind of collectively makes this turn into what seems like a super record. So it's not a bad thing.
And do you remember which song that you recorded first for the album?
I remember the first song that we wrote for the record, or the song that was written that was actually the first single, Decompose. That was the first kind of track we started working around. We're like, all right, we got one good song in the pot. And kind of worked around it that way. I don't really remember what song we started off recording because we started off with drums. So I don't even know where we started at, honestly. But like I said, it was so much. We went from kind of writing and demoing the songs. We would record those as well. So I think I got my brain kind of mixed around with what we recorded first or wrote first. I don't know. It just all happened. There's evidence.
Well, speaking of evidence, no, I do not have a segue for that. I think I'm one of many thousands of people that first discovered you as a result of the writing and the contributions you used to do for the website Metal Sludge. It kind of showed, hey, this is a guy that is a star, but he's also very accessible. And in my opinion, you kind of preceded the whole idea of artists doing meet and greets. Would you agree with that?
I think I was one of the first people that I knew of or doing it. I don't think I really had anybody other than Kiss to sort of base a meet and greet off of, because it really wasn't a known thing, I guess, that bands were doing unless it was somebody like Kiss or or a bigger band or something like that. And I started doing it in like 2009 with my Gunfire band, just because, well, one, we couldn't afford what we were doing, and it was a way that I thought we could make some extra money, and then it would be something cool for the fans, and it'd be for a handful of people. It wasn't just open for everybody, and it just kind of became something I started doing. And then, I don't know, in the past, I don't know how many years now it's been, but now it's sort of a common thing bands need it to survive on.
But ultimately, the way that you always approach that is in making yourself accessible to your fan base. And meanwhile, you mentioned Kiss and you mentioned Alice Cooper, who are kind of harder to reach as artists. You know,
yeah.
Everyone relates to the music, but it's not like you can just walk up to Gene Simmons and say hey in most cases. So I'm curious where that influence came from to make yourself accessible to fans.
I think it's just this kind of this day and age, you know, it's not magazines anymore. Now it's all social media, and you can be accessible on there. You know, there's people that I wish weren't accessible on social media. I don't want to be one of those kind of people where I won't shut up or anything like that. But but you know, I was approachable by fans. You know, like when we play shows in America, or you know, and well, I guess around the world, we're not playing sold out shows. Or not thousands of people. You know, we're playing for a few hundred people, and that's the way it's kind of been, you know, solid for us for years. And you know, it's just been easy for us to get to our fans and approachable, and you know, and that's been kind of difficult over the years, because of certain places we started off where we played in front of 5 people, and now it's worked up where there's 500 people, and we can't meet people now, and we used to, and then those fans are going, "What do we used to be there for you?" I'm like, "We can't find you now. We're not as, you know." So it's a push and pull thing, you know. But I've just never been where I've tried to turn it off where I'm not accessible. You know, the meet and greet things are something I hope is fun. It's not just, "Hey, you get to meet me. What do you think about that?" It's just, you know, I want to make it cool. If you come on the bus, we'll try to make it fun. I try to make cool videos of stuff, you know, on the bus to watch people come up and hang out. So it's not just a, "Hey, how you doing? Get the fuck out of here," kind of thing.
Well, going back to Necrophaze, it is your 8th album as Wednesday 13, and you're doing an album every 2-3 years on average, plus a lot of guest appearances, plus, of course, touring, you know, probably 100 to 200 shows in support of these albums. Is creativity a daily thing for you, or is it kind of like you write the album, you make the album, and then you don't write anything for a while?
I think now it's sort of a creative thing that just is constantly, like, it seems like it's constantly going. I'm being creative, and whether the record's done, so I can't really do any more as far as the actual album goes, but as far as promotion and how we promote it and how we do everything from this point, you know, I'm being more creative. I'm not just going, "Oh, let's let the label figure it out." Like, you know, we're still doing tons of promo, and there's so much stuff we're doing for this label, and there's not really any kind of set rules that we're playing by. You know, they're letting me be, you know, creative with my own promo and how we do it. You know, like, "Oh, you can do a set of interviews where you talk about the record, or you could take that money that you're doing that and do what I like to do." Well, we just released this week one of our movie trailers, like for Zodiac. So we're doing different stuff that way to make it more fun for the fans and make it more like, you know, just kind of how I've always presented the band. I've always put this imagery and album covers of this horror meets rock and roll thing, and now I'm doing videos that way. So now I've got someone that can do. I'm on a label where it just gives me, you know, I have a ability to do videos and all this kind of stuff. So it's just, so I guess having those outlets gives me more creative, because I can call up the label now, which is 40 minutes from my house, and go, "Hey, I want to go film something." "Well, come down." "Okay, cool." And they got an office and green room there I can record and do stuff in. So that keeps me more creative too. And plus, I'm not drinking my face off like I would do with all my free time, and so that would stunt my creativity, I think, a lot. So it was becoming more of a job because my creativity was getting in the way of my drinking.
Right. Hey, getting better all the time. I think that's the MO. And you mentioned doing trailers and video content related to promoting your music. Long term, do you see yourself making proper films?
I would like to. I mean, I think the reason I probably became a musician and started doing stuff is because I didn't have access. It was easier to get a hold of a guitar than it was a movie camera at my age. And my brother had like $1,000 one of those shoulder VHS, when America's Funniest Home Videos first came out, those super expensive cameras, and you can get a guitar, you get 4 guitars the price of one of those. And so I started writing music I learned how to play guitar and started writing music about movies, and now I'm getting involved to the point where I'm going, wow, well, now I'm kind of making little movies, so why not just do it? So that's something that I'm working on and have some actually like developments working on it now. So not just more of ideas. Like I've got it's on my list of shit to get done is to get my movie thing going. So that's something I'm working on kind of as well as this release is coming out too. So I'm still working even though the record's done. So that's something that I've never done before, where I usually record's done and I just have time to kind of float about and just do the record. Now I'm working on a movie idea as well. So it's keeping me busy and I like to stay busy.
And when I speak to people who are clearly idea people, that they are the creative leader of a band, I find that it goes kind of two ways. One is that the person is always listening to music and always consuming art when they're not working. And then the other kind of person just avoids art by all means when they're not working. Which one are you?
The latest edition of me is constantly listening, learning, soaking in everything. Me a couple years ago was definitely records done, turn it off. I don't want to do anything else. I don't want to hear anything else. I don't want to touch my guitar until it's time to write the next record, kind of deal. And so it's exact opposite now. So I'm just maybe it's weird, I don't know, but I am like addicted to all day. All I do is watch YouTube clips of 1980s commercial breaks. Okay.
Not just the commercial breaks, but also listening to Tough Again, or just the commercial breaks?
Just the commercial breaks, just everything from 1980s. You'd be amazed. I mean, I'm sitting there going, well, am I weird for watching it, or is it weird that there's like 8,000 people that have uploaded, these old TV trailers or TV like shows and TV? It's just basically in between TV shows. It'll be like the 2-minute commercial break, and it's everything from cereal commercials to more cereal commercials, and it's just, to me, it's really cool to go back and watch a lot of that stuff, because I've been watching all the old movies. I've did that forever, but just you can really see a lot of what was going on and watching those commercial breaks, and that's another, if people like to get into retro stuff, and you'd be surprised, or at least me, how brainwashed every single jingle for every song, every commercial, every product that doesn't exist anymore. I know it. Like, I know it as well as I do an Enough's Enough song. It's ridiculous.
Wow, I think I have a new wormhole to go down, so thank you very much for that.
I'm watching the news now from 1982.
Wow. This is really, I've never thought about this before.
That's a trip, to watch old news things during the day and then see how much a lot of stuff hasn't changed at all, especially in the political war front. We're still doing the same shit we were doing in 1982 that we're doing right now. So that hasn't changed.
Just a lot slower.
Yeah, and McDonald's was a 5-star restaurant and not, it was before Super Size Me destroyed it.
Good call. So I guess in closing, any last words for the kids?
Yeah, I just always say thank you for everybody that's been supporting us, and I can't wait for everybody to hear the new record because it's like a sort of rebirth and reconnection with what I do. So I'm in a good spot. So I think the music followed me there. So it's a good time for us. So enjoy the ride.
Next up is my August 2019 phone interview with Ray Luzier. Ray is not only the drummer of Korn, a position he's held for about 13 years, but he's also one-third of the band KXM, alongside guitarist George Lynch, who you know from Doc and the Lynch Mob, and bassist Doug Pinnick, who I'm sure you know from King's X. Before winding up in Korn, Ray played with David Lee Roth, which we spoke about in our chat. A bit of a spoiler alert here, but it looks like we'll be seeing a 4th album from KXM in the near future, maybe also some touring. So let's keep an eye out for that.
Hey, Darren.
Hey, Ray. How's it going there today?
Good, man. How are you?
I am doing excellent. I have a bunch of questions to ask you about KXM, but I first want to say that I've been following your career for a long time when you were David Lee Roth's drummer, of course. And that seemed to be your big break in a way, because, of course, Steel Panther did not take off right away either. So a lot of bands, a lot of artists, their career kind of bleeds into each other, and that people go, oh, you did this gig, welcome to this gig. Did your David Lee Roth gig at all lead to you getting the Korn gig?
Yeah, I think they all kind of go, like you said, they flow into each other, and if you stay active in the music business, it took me a while when I moved to Los Angeles, because I was in a lot of original bands. I wanted to do the dream like Korn did. I wanted to you know, have 4 or 5 guys and start off from nothing and keep progressing and getting more popular. And everyone dreams about that as a musician. Unfortunately, I had a couple failed original bands. We got the carrot dangling right in front of us, and either got the rug pulled out at the last minute, or they'd shelf a record, or, labels, or the music business side, I always say, sucks. The playing music and touring and all that's great, but sometimes the business doesn't work out that great. So, when I started realizing, I started auditioning for people, and Jakey Lee from Ozzy Osbourne was one of the first kind of name people I got the gig for. And that was my first tour. So I started getting on a bus, and I'm playing, some Ozzy songs, some Badlands songs of Jake's. And that was my first taste of it. And then that would lead me to, I was doing everything from teaching drum lessons to playing on sessions, movie soundtracks, TV commercials, other people's records. And then one of the sessions I did was a guitar player working with David Lee Roth. And that he called me back and said, hey, Dave, loves your playing. He wants to cut the songs again for vocals, because it was an instrumental record. And went down, played 2 songs with Dave, and got that gig. And that led to 8 years with Dave. And I had no idea in a million years I'd ever be playing with one of my, singers of one of my favorite bands of all time. So, and then that, towards the end of that, I was not feeling that creatively, fulfilled with Dave, because I was a huge fan of Eat 'Em and Smile and a bunch of his original records, and he just was doing cover records, and I felt like I was in a Van Halen cover band with David Lee Roth. So
sure,
I kept, I wanted to. I have too much music in me. I write too much. So anyway, long story short, I've done a couple Billy Sheehan solo records, and Billy and I played the NAMM show in 2005, and I met the DeLeo brothers there, and that led me to Army of Anyone. And Army of Anyone was Robert and Dean DeLeo from Stone Temple Pilots, Richard Patrick from Filter. And I fell head over heels, because I really wanted that band to be, do multiple records and all that. And it was short-lived, unfortunately. I'm very proud of that record we put out. They were managed by Korn. So I kept asking our manager, hey, what's up with Korn? They're using Joey from Slipknot on this tour, Terry Bozzio on the record, Brooks Wackerman, all these different people. And they said, yeah, they're looking for a steady drummer. You should go check it out. And I'm like, me? I'm blonde hair, no tattoos, and never did a drug in my life. And they didn't seem to care. I went up and auditioned for them. Joey's last gig in Seattle, and they said, welcome to Korn, we'll see you in Dublin. And that was October of 2007.
I had the pleasure of seeing you a couple nights ago at Jones Beach playing with Korn, and it strikes me how versatile you are because the first band I saw you in, of course, was Dave, and I'm familiar with Army of Anyone, but then you take a song like Got the Life, which you could describe as like an evil disco kind of drum beat and all that. Did you learn all the different styles when you were studying at Musicians Institute, or did that just kind of reaffirm what you learned in playing drums since you were a kid?
Yeah, I'm definitely a feel player. You know, a lot of people, because I've done a lot of progressive prog records and things like that, people always think I'm more of a technician side, but I've taught myself, self-taught myself playing the records my whole life. You know, I went to Musicians Institute because I was a rock metalhead off the farm from Pittsburgh. You know, I didn't know any better, didn't know any other styles. No one really showed me anything. So growing up to just nothing but Zeppelin, Ozzy, and Kiss, and all the classic rock bands, that's all you knew. So yeah, I got my ass kicked when I went to MI and learning swing and reggae and ska and Latin. So, and I'm still learning to this day. I mean, you never ever stop. I have light years of stuff to learn, and that's the beauty of music. You know, you can never quite reach that plateau. So yeah, it's definitely when I got in Korn, it's a totally different animal to do. I mean, it's having the freedom to play in bands like KXM is a great thing because there's no rules. You know, Korn has a certain thing they do, and with producers they know that. So there's more of a production move on the records, which I'm okay with because it's all about the feel and groove with Korn. You know, with KXM there's no one telling you what to do. It's 100% us. You know, that's the kind of funny rule we have with KXM. No one tells, I don't tell Doug what to do. Doug doesn't tell George what to do. And somehow we come up with this really cool stuff,
Do you like the idea of KXM sounding like an all-star band based on your credits?
It's weird because people call it, the supergroup thing. They call it all different kinds of stuff. To us, it's just we met up years ago, and I've always been a King's X fan and George Lynch fan. I did George's DVD years ago, and I've been following King's X like crazy because I think they're one of the best bands out there. And once you get to a point where these are your buddies, we have enough time on the water of all the experience that we have and countless tours and records that it's a magical thing to get in the studio and not have any pre-production. I mean, we literally walk in the studio, nobody has any grooves or riffs. We come up with something on the spot, and I'm tracking live drums by the end of the day. And then we do guitars and bass that night. And then obviously the vocals and leads are overdubbed, but most of the record is made on the spot like that. 13 songs in 13 days, boom, So I think it's really cool that we trust each other, and we kick each other's asses to get that done. And we've done it 3 times now. We were joking about the 4th KXM. We're like, maybe we should actually try pre-production and see what that's like.
Well, when you start off KXM, people are going, yep, side project. I mean, your record label is very synonymous with supergroups and side projects and all that. But being your 3rd record, do you now view this as almost like a full-time band? Korn's always my bread and butter and always will be. It's this is October starts my 13th year with the band, and they've been around 25. So, and with the quality record we have coming out and quality tours coming up, we're on a banging. You saw the other day with Alice in Chains. It's a really good package, and I feel we're at the top of our game, even though we're all 47 to 49 years old. There's definitely something going on now in the air with this. That's everyone's in a good headspace, and so Korn's always there. It's going to be my number one, but it's my fault that KXM doesn't tour. We've had many offers to do package tours, to cruise ships, to you name it. It's like the whole problem is it would take us weeks and weeks just to get the first show going because none of us have ever played this live. I've played several things at drum festivals to the record, so I'm technically the only one that ever played. If you want to see KXM live, go to YouTube and type in my name. But we will end up playing shows. I know. It's just a matter of finding out the right time frame. In your career, you were, I believe, a little bit after your tenure with Dave, you did a technician kind of video, a clinician kind of thing. When in your career did you go from being just a sideman to an actual endorsed drummer?
A lot of musicians are like, how do I get endorsed? How do I get free stuff? And it's like, it's not really about obviously you have to be in the public eye and in a popular band, so people, the companies want their products to be seen. Of course, that's the obvious thing about endorsements. But one cool thing, one of my biggest endorsements is Sabian cymbals. When I was playing clubs before I got the Jakey Lee gig, I was doing these Shrapnel Records, which are an independent label that had a lot of Guitar Hero people on.
All the Varney stuff, yeah.
Yeah, all the Barney stuff. I'm on like 12 or 13 of those records, and I used to love doing them. You didn't make any money, but you were building up a catalog. You were building your resume. You had CDs to hand to people back then, which was kind of a bigger deal. And so anyway, you have to establish relationships with these companies. I have 12 endorsements to look after, and because drummers are nuts, we have all these components and everything on our drums to in-ear monitors to everything. So. Sabian's the first company that saw me play at a small club in Los Angeles in front of 15 people and said, "We really believe in you. We know you're going to be doing this for a long time." And I had nothing at the time. I could barely pay a phone bill. And, they gave me my first endorsement. And that holds, I'm a loyal guy, when someone believes in me, I got your back, that's it. So, they're my longest endorsement. I was 93. So, and then you just start accumulating after that. You see what companies you're interested in, you establish a relationship with them, you go to the NAMM show in LA, you do, write to them, do whatever you got to do. But I'm very happy with my companies right now for sure.
And you look exactly like you did 15 or so years ago when I first saw you. What are you doing to keep up in terms of the conditioning?
Well, glad you think that, because today I feel like a truck hit me. I try to, that whole saying that, rock and roll keeps you young. I honestly believe that. I've been, this whole career of mine, I never partook in any kind of drugs, substance abuse, anything like that. I have a lot of friends that are younger than me that look much older than me because of stuff they've gone through. And that's okay. I mean, that people turn around and they get over it. But I don't know, man. Like I just try to take care of myself. I've got a 4 and an 8-year-old that keeps me busy when I'm home. I got an awesome wife, and just, I truly live for music. So I think when you surround yourself with positivity and good people and do what you love to do, I think that shows in your appearance. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know, but but thank you for the compliment.
So in your case, it's not something like doing DDP yoga or something, a fitness effect. It's literally that you exercise and then keep a positive PMA kind of attitude.
Eat a lot of Ben and Jerry's. I definitely try to keep in shape, and I definitely, I belong to a gym and stuff, and I try to, but I'm really bad with sugar. That's my poison. I'm a sweet fanatic. Like, you always, if there's a bakery in town, like we're in Connecticut today, and the first thing I do is look for a coffee shop and a bakery, and that's kind of bad, but that's the only poison I got, and it makes me happy. So, obviously metabolism when you're late 40s is not like it was when you're 30, but you gotta still make yourself somewhat happy being in this nutty world that we live in.
And so there is hope of a 4th KXM record, though?
Yeah, I mean, we were just joking about that not too long ago at the Lightning video shoot. We were saying, like, if we ever do another one, my ultimate goal, and I've talked to Doug and George about this, would be to do a live outing, like somehow do a string of shows and then hopefully film the last show for a DVD or online video where people could see the band that couldn't see it. Maybe they can't travel to where we're going to be. So that would be the ultimate to me, to do because that would be a great set list. We have 3 records to put together now, put together a set list. But yeah, that's not out of the question at all. I'm the baby of the band at 49, which is kind of scary, but Doug has never looked or sounded better, and he's 66 years old. George is 63, and they're both in great shape, and they sound amazing. That's what, a lot of people lose their edge or lose certain things, especially singers, but Doug, man, that soul that comes out of that guy's mouth, it's amazing.
Absolutely. 2 quick questions, and then you're a free man. The first one is, were you ever Ray Luzier? Did you ever do your last name that way?
When I moved to Hollywood, I remember a guy I'm right off the farm, and he said, "What's your name?" I go, "Ray Luzier." And he goes, "That's not going to work. What's your middle name?" And I go, "Lee." He goes, "That's it. That's your stage name. That's your rock and roll name, Raymond Lee." And I went, "I don't want to be Raymond Lee. There's Michael Lee, Tommy Lee, all these, and he's like, "Luzier's too hard to pronounce, And I go, "Well, it's actually Luzier. It's from France." And he goes, "Yeah, people aren't going to get that." But, to answer your question, no, I never went by that. Sebastian Paquette, that does our KXM videos, he's from Paris, and he's the only one that pronounces my last name properly. But Luzier is how you pronounce it, and that's just, I got more Italian in me than French. So
got it. So, any last words for the kids?
No, I just encourage everyone to support music, and I'm a vinyl freak lately. I've been buying a ton of vinyl, and really check out the new KXM Circle Dolls vinyl, because it's a splattered black and turquoise print that come out really beautiful, and definitely check that out, and support your favorite bands. Everyone's got their Spotify and Apple Pay going on, or Apple Music going on, but if you really are into the artist, and people work really hard on records and that, go buy their vinyl. It really helps us out, even to this day. I know it's a world of us older dudes losing the battle with purchasing music, but people don't realize how much it does mean to us when you actually put forth the effort for all the work we've done,
Last but definitely not least is my July 2019 phone interview, make that late July 2019 phone interview with Micky Dolenz. As one of the founding members of the Monkees and a working actor even before he was cast in the Monkees, Dolenz has been famous for almost his whole life, and it's not surprising why. He's a talented multi-instrumentalist who's full of great stories for starters. Dolenz still tours a lot, and he'll be part of the It Was 50 Years Ago Today tour alongside Todd Rundgren, Christopher Cross, Joey Mollen from Badfinger, and Jason Sheff, who I had on the Paltrocast a couple episodes ago. Same with Todd Rundgren, so really a big fan of that tour. It's really going to have a lot of music that as the artists are going to be doing the whole Beatles White Album, and also a few of their own hits. This is my second time interviewing Micky Dolenz, and based on this great experience, I'm really hoping there's going to be a third interview in the near future with Micky. Hey, it's Darren Paltrowitz. Still a good time for your interview today?
Yeah, this is our scheduled time, right? 1 o'clock?
Yes, it is. All good for you today?
Where are you?
I am calling from Long Beach, New York on Long Island.
Ah, lovely part of the world. How's the weather there? Are you getting part of that heat wave?
We are absolutely getting that heat wave. Am I getting you on the West Coast today?
Yes, you are. Los Angeles. Not too bad today, actually. Clear. It's another shitty day in paradise.
Right. I've read in the past that you live a certain amount of the year in New York. Is that still the case?
I spend quite a bit of time back east, all over the place. I lived in New York for the best part of a year or two when I was doing Aida, the musical, Elton John musical. And then also I was a morning DJ at CBS FM. So I spent the best part of a couple of years. But my wife is from Philly, and all of her family's there. I have two of my children are in the D.C. area. Now I have grandchildren. So, yeah, I do spend a lot of time back east. A lot, yeah.
And I do remember that period where you took over at CBS FM. Was that the first time that you'd done radio for a long-time basis?
Yes, it was the first time. I had, sat in and done, little bits and pieces over the years. Always loved it. In fact, the first time I did it, I was about 12 years old, and I got a Heath kit. I don't know if you know that term.
Sure.
Yeah, build electronic things, out of kits, and I've always been kind of a science geek, and I built a little FM transmitter from the Heath kit that would transmit from the garage to the kitchen, where I had my mother tune her radio into my transmissions, and I would give her the weather report from the driveway. That's the first time. Then I'd play a record on my on my little record player, and But the CBS FM thing was definitely the first major, thing. And boy, was it tough. It was one of the hardest gigs I've ever had.
Well, that's always a thing that interests me about your career. How many chances you've taken, how many different fields you've succeeded in. And in my opinion, you did succeed in radio, even if it was a tough, transition right there. But when I look at your career, one of the things that intrigues me most is most people start with the credibility and then they get the mainstream success. You kind of work the other way around, where you had the mainstream success after your child acting career, and then people realized, wow, what a talented multi-instrumentalist songwriter this guy is. Is that something you've ever thought about, that in reverse you got the credibility?
No, actually, I have never occurred to me that. I was born in a showbiz family, a very down-to-earth showbiz family. My father was an actor, a singer, off the boat from Italy. So I'm first generation Italian. And my mom was from Texas, Austin, Texas. And came out to Los Angeles to be an actress, and met my father doing a play, and they got married and had me, and so I grew up in a showbiz family, but not the kind of typical thing you see, on some of these stupid television shows. We grew up in a very, I don't know how you describe it, a very down-to-earth sort of family and lifestyle. We lived out in the valley on little ranches and had horses and gardens, and not your typical sort of, Beverly Hills, Hollywood sort of showbiz family. It was much more down-to-earth, again, because probably my father being from Italy and mom from Texas. To me, I mean, I just grew up in this showbiz family, and I thought everybody's father was an actor.
Sure.
I followed in my father's footsteps, and I was never pressured. I don't ever remember. I never went to acting school or dancing school, and my mother was definitely not your typical. Eyes and teeth, honey, eyes and teeth. There was none of that. I never felt pressured. I just was following in my father's footsteps. My earliest memories were going onto the set with him and watching him, be an actor. And my first screen test I was 6 years old. Even before Circus Boy. And I don't remember exactly how it happened. I think my father's agent said that they're making a movie, and would Mickey want to, do a screen test? And I said yes. I don't ever remember being pressured in any way. But that was my first screen test. I was 6. I actually have some prenatal work coming out on ultrasound.
Well, I mean, your daughter Amy has also found success as an actress, making it a third-generation Hollywood family. I guess there's you guys, the Nelsons, the Barrymores, but there's not a lot of those out there.
That's true. Amy did very, very well. And then my youngest daughter from another marriage, Georgia Dolenz, is doing very well as an actress, as a producer, director. She has a short film that just got accepted into the Vail Festival that she wrote, produced, and starred in. She graduated with a degree in theater from Hull University in England, and then went through the Groundlings, all the way through the Groundlings into the Sunday Company. And so she's doing very well in the business. I have 2 other daughters that are not in the business, but also doing quite well. And in what they do. Yeah, so I don't know, a long way around. And to answer your question, the word credibility, it never has entered my lexicon. I just never think about that, whether I'm credible or not, or, actually whether I'm, I like to be successful. I like to make a living at it, but I don't, I don't put the cart before the horse. Money follows art. Art doesn't follow money. You do what you like and what you hope is going to work and be successful, and you do your best, and you surround yourself hopefully with people that are talented also and have the same sensibility, and then with any luck you get lucky. It's the only way I can kind of describe it. The Monkees, of course, being a classic example of that. Just a bunch of people, mostly young people, that just got together and had an idea and gave it a shot. And the way I look at it is that the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts in our business, and you can't really reduce it in a scientific sense, if you know what I mean. You can't take it apart and examine it, like taking a watch apart to see how it works. Well, if you do, you don't have a watch anymore. You just have a bunch of parts. The same in our business. You can't take apart TV shows or movies or records or anything and dissect it and then figure out how it works. I mean, there's no formulas. If there were, there'd be no flops.
Sure. And speaking of parts and all that, your voice is notably held up as good as ever over the years. Has that been the product of care and voice lessons and technique, or is that luck and genetics?
Both. And that's a very good question. And the short answer is, I believe, both. There is a physicality to it. Your vocal cords are muscles, little tiny muscles, look like little guitar strings. And so, yes, there is a physicality to it. And you can be born with, say, a golfer's physique or a 7'6", basketball player's physique. So that, yes, there absolutely, I believe, is a genetic component. And it comes back to that, nature versus nurture argument. If you may have the physique, but if you're not born into a family that is into music or singing, then that ability may not ever be realized because you've just not been exposed to the opportunity. But then there is also the nurture. You do have to work on your skills and your abilities, and you do have to train in any sport. And again, the singing in a way is like a sport in that sense, that you do have to train. You do have to take care of your body and your muscles. I was born in this showbiz family, and both my dad and mom were singers. So from day one, I remember singing along with my mom and dad, and every day, and there was always music around. So that certainly would have helped. And then I just was able to carry a tune and started little rock and roll bands, and did all that as a kid. And so actually, my first musical instrument was Spanish guitar, classical guitar.
Really?
A la Segovia. I mean, as a 10-year-old, not as Segovia. But that was my first instrument of choice, was Spanish classical guitar. And I was okay for a 10, 12-year-old kid. But I took lessons and practiced, and then I would be invited to parties in high school, and I'd play Malagueña, and the girls would say, "Do you know any Kingston Trio?" And I would say, "Oh yeah, I'll be right back." Hang down your head, Tom Dooley. And that sort of got me into folk music. And I did that with my sister Coco, who's an excellent singer also, and some friends, and we did, early Kingston Trio, folk music kind of stuff. And that morphed into rock and roll, and I was in a couple of cover bands, singing and playing rhythm guitar, and doing Chuck Berry and Little Richard and whatever. In fact, my audition piece for the Monkees was "Johnny Be Good" by Chuck Berry, because that was one of the songs I did in the cover band. I didn't do any training at the time vocally. I just, sort of just kind of naturally just sang. It wasn't until I started doing Broadway, specifically Aida, where my manager said, you really should start taking some vocal lessons to learn breathing and how to placement, because it wasn't operatic, Aida, but it was definitely an Elton John rock opera kind of thing. 8 shows a week, and I was hitting B flats every night, full voice.
Wow! And
so I'm glad I took her advice, because it definitely helped. It helps mostly when you're not feeling really great or you're a little bit under the weather. You find ways of placing, of placement, they call it. So yeah, I still am careful. I still warm up. I'm still protective of my tubes. I go to ENT and make sure everything is in good shape. And then, of course, like I said before, part of it is just nature. I got lucky, and I can still hit a B flat. I can still hit a D above C.
I don't expect that you're going to have to hit those notes on the upcoming tour that you're doing. It was 50 years ago.
I am, actually. I am going to have to hit it, because in Pleasant Valley Sunday at the end of Pleasant Valley Sunday, I hit a D above C. And it's a head tone. It's not a full voice, tenor thing. It is a head tone / not quite falsetto, but it's definitely a head tone. And I still do, in my solo show, for instance, I do one of my favorite songs. Well, there's a couple that I do. "Oh Darlin'," the Beatles song. I do that in the original key of A. And I do "Give Me Some Lovin'," Spencer Davis. I do that in the original key of A. But I am careful. I am, if I'm not feeling really good, I'll cut a song, or if I feel like my chords are a little bit worn or something. That's where you get in trouble, is singing on bad chords. You have a cold, you have some kind of acid reflux, or something's going wrong, and you try to do it. You try to hit those notes. That's when you get in trouble, because that's when you get the injuries that can turn into the polyps, and then you're screwed.
Sure. I've had the pleasure of speaking to a couple of people that you'll be on the It Was 50 Years Ago Today tour with. And all of them pretty much say, yeah, I got this tour in the fall. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I know my next project or two beyond that. Are you in kind of the same boat where you know what 2020 looks like already?
Well, I already have dates, solo dates in 2020. Whether or not Mike Nesmith and I are going to go out again as the Mike and Micky show, which we did very successfully this year and last. Remains to be seen. But I always have solo shows, all year round. I don't remember the dates, frankly. I have already about half a dozen booked for 2020, cool. But frankly, I don't remember, the exact dates. This White Album tour is, going to take up most of this year. I'm thrilled and flattered and quite honored to be asked to be part of this with, such incredible talent like Todd and Christopher and Jason and Joey. I mean, I'm a huge fan of these people. and the thought of going out there and also, of course, I'm a huge fan of the White Album. I mean, who isn't? And so I'm very flattered and honored to be singing with these people.
And I assume that you're going to be doing Pleasant Valley Sunday and a song or two beyond the White Album during the tour, or has that not been worked out yet?
We all are. I'm going to probably right now it's looking like I'm a Believer and Pleasant Valley Sunday. Got it. So that pays off with all the vocal maintenance. And then each of us do like 4 or 5 tunes off the White Album. And then looking ahead at everything, there's a lot of people within the Monkees fan base who love the material from Head. Have you ever thought about doing a tour where you focus on the deep cuts like that? Oh, we have. Oh, we've done it. Mike and I just recently did in our show, just he and I, because of course our beloved Peter passed recently, and Davey passed a number of years ago. But on this last tour with Mike, we did 2 songs from Head, at least. And when I went out with Peter and David, we would sometimes do 2 or 3 songs from the movie Head. That's some of the greatest soundtrack. There's only 6 songs in that movie, but every one of them is just a killer. So yes, absolutely. I do Porpoise Song. I do As We Go Along. I've done Circle Sky. Peter's done Can You Dig It and a long title, and Davey has done the Harry Nilsson tune Daddy's Song. So over the years, yes, we've done every single song from that wonderful weird movie. Well, it sounds like I have to see you live the next time you're in New York with Mike. So I guess in closing, Mickey, any last words for the kids? To the kids that want to be in the business? Sure. My advice for anybody who wants to get into show business, my first bit of advice would be get a good lawyer. Thanks for listening to the Paltrocast with Darren Paltrowitz on the Pure Grain Audio Network. More information on the Paltrocast can be found online at www.puregrainaudio.com. Until next time, have a great Shabbos.